So when you look at this structure here, you can see Chelsea's 4-2-3-1 and how it immediately changes into a 3-2-2 structure with the pivots and one fullback actually inverting in the forward line, something that Enzo Maresca has actually invented in recent times. This system has been tried to be countered with a 4-2-4 structure, while opponents using their two forwards to try and cover Chelsea's double pivots and using their wide players to try and cover Chelsea's wide centre back, with the main aim trying to neutralize Enzo Maresca's box-shaped overload in midfield, as well as trying to prevent Chelsea from progressing. Now, when opponents decide to press with one player, Chelsea already have a numerical advantage, and because Chelsea and especially players such as Levi Colwill are very good and efficient in playing through this, and the pivots of Caicedo and Lavia are able to move momentarily and create angles to receive the ball, time and time again we've seen them receiving the ball and progressing. But sometimes opponents have also won the ball in this situation and had more players, similar to what we saw Chelsea playing and facing when they faced Liverpool at Anfield. Enzo Maresca, a manager who came to Chelsea in July, a manager who was actually called Diet Pep, meaning that the close resemblance to Pep Guardiola, is actually a manager who has come to Chelsea and actually created his own philosophy of play. This is a manager who was touted to be a championship level manager, but he's coming in and is actually looking like he's a manager who has done way better than experienced manager, especially Maurizio Pochettino, who was there last season. Now, Maresca has actually placed Chelsea in a very strong position. Chelsea, going into the international break, are currently third in the Premier League. And not only are Chelsea third in the Premier League, Chelsea are above key teams such as Arsenal, who are actually going for the Premier League title this season, and Aston Villa, their top 4 competitor, as well as Tottenham Hotspur, who finished above them last season. Chelsea is actually looking more dynamic, more strong, and another thing that we should also factor in is that Chelsea has played almost all the top sides in the Premier League. Now, comparing the 2023-2024 Premier League table, you can see that Chelsea in 2023 was actually 10th around this time and currently is third, and they are 4 points better than they were last season. Even the goal difference is way better, and when you compare these two tables, you realize that Chelsea this season have played harder teams compared to when they did in 2023. So meaning that if Chelsea played easier teams, they would be even higher in the table. Now, Enzo Maresca gave us a strong statement indicating that the journey is still long, the direction is right, and he thanks the fans for the fantastic support and how fantastic the club is. So let's try and analyze how Enzo Maresca has improved Chelsea. And the first place to do it is actually to hear how Enzo Maresca describes his football philosophy. But before we even start, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos.
So if it's a 4, how does it change for you?
No, yeah. If it's line of 4, it's like, as you can see, now can be 4-2-3-1 or can be 4-3-3, it doesn't matter. But the idea is to build 3 and 2 and to attack with the 5, that as you can see, with the line of 4.
Yep.
We are 5 against 4. Now, the only way to match a little bit is to drop one of these players or one of these 2 players and make 5 against 5. But that means if they drop, that you are playing in the opposite side, then probably you don't have space here because they drop, but you can have space in different area of the pitch.
Which is the most important space that you're really trying to exploit by doing this?
No, the idea is always to try to have an extra player in some part of the pitch. Again, as you can see in this case against line of 4, probably the back 4, they are under stress all game because it's 5 against 4. You
have the overload.
And except as you can see, for instance, 2v1 outside, inside can be 1, 2 and 3 against 2. So if the ball is there, go, you have always one extra player. So it depends a little bit the structure of the opposite, the other team.
More freedom because Caicedo can drop and build from back, but it's a player that can combine with Enzo, being in different space to help and to build from back. But he is a player that need to, little by little, to give more freedom after to arrive to the opposite half, because have the capacity to score. But Enzo also too is improving a lot, because now Enzo is a player with the capacity to drop and help the tip in the build-up from back, the transition to connect and to help also good pass and keep possession, and then to arrive, from the second line and score goal. But Caicedo, little by little, is going to find also the regularity and the consistency to do.
Now, Maresca differs with Pochettino because he's more precise and more direct on how he wants his team to play. Another thing we can say about Maresca is that we have seen the influence he has had on Cole Palmer. We are seeing Cole Palmer getting a lot of freedom in the number 10 position that he plays, and we're also seeing a team that does not heavily rely upon Cole Palmer, with other players also stepping up. We are seeing the improvement of Nicholas Jackson in the team, and we are seeing tactical changes and tactical instructions being understood by players. Now, Enzo Maresca is one of those managers who does not shy in actually explaining how his team is supposed to play. But one fundamental thing that we've seen with Chelsea this season is how Chelsea are extremely lethal when it comes to playing through transitions. And one key example is how Chelsea managed to play against Newcastle in a transition phase. And Enzo Maresca epitomizes how Chelsea have improved and how Chelsea is one of the most dangerous teams when it comes to transition football.
Now, looking at how Chelsea were playing from the back, Newcastle came to Stamford Bridge, and as I have said, teams have not yet respected Chelsea when it comes to pressing Chelsea from the front. And you're seeing teams committing a lot of players to try and press Chelsea, create situations where they are able to create pressing traps for Chelsea and win the ball off Chelsea quite easily. And the teams are deciding to try and close up the middle and try to force Chelsea wide so that they can effectively press Chelsea. But Chelsea have a way in which they play, and that way is involving the goalkeeper in build-up. And now Chelsea, rather than having 10 players, outfield players, they have 11 players, with the goalkeeper acting as a centre-back, creating that system where they are able to play from the back. Though this sometimes creates a lot of panic for Chelsea fans, considering Robert Sanchez's poor passing ability. We're seeing Gusto moving into that half-space region alongside Palmer so that Chelsea can be able to create a 2-2-2 in the middle of the park, creating four lines of 4 lines, staggered lines, so as to evade pressure. And when teams decide to press the goalkeeper and the centre backs in a 2v2 situation, then one centre back drops deep and they create that 3-2 build-up structure with fullbacks starting high and wide. Now, one thing that we have seen is the involvement of Nicholas Jackson. Jackson and Palmer drop on either side of the defense line, looking to pick up pockets of space in between. And what this happens is that this forces the opposition centre-backs in a dilemma to drop deep and cover these players, or to allow them to receive the ball in space. And majority of teams are asking their defenders to come deep, receive the ball, and stop them from turning. But you're seeing Jackson being very effective in receiving the ball, using his strength to shield the ball, receiving the ball, and making runs forward in situations. Now, let's look at this kind of situation. Look at how Newcastle are going man-to-man against Chelsea. The wingers are going against the fullbacks. They have committed both Isak and Joe Linton to press, and you can see the position of Sanchez playing as an extra man. Now, because Newcastle have pressed Chelsea in this fashion, and they have actually even pushed their entire midfield line to prevent Lavia and Caicedo to even receive the ball. Now, what this has happened is that it has made Newcastle to push as many as 6 players forward, and they have decided to go man-to-man with Chelsea's backline. And now you can see Palmer and Jackson have both dropped from the forward line position and have actually joined the midfield. And once they join this midfield line, they are now giving Newcastle tactical problems, because now they are enabling Newcastle to create that overload that they want. Now, because Chelsea and especially Sanchez is able to play that pass into that region, Jackson is able to receive that ball. Now, once Jackson receives that ball, he is very strong. Jackson is amongst the most physical strikers in the league. He's able to receive that ball, and look at the position of Palmer. Now, Dan Burn, who was covering Palmer, had to drop deep to try and cover for his opposing centre-back who had moved in field. And now Palmer is in a position where he's able to receive the ball in areas where he has time and space to effect the game. Palmer receives this ball in this situation and is able to actually transition. Now, look at the position that Palmer is picking. Palmer is picking that position in between the centre-back and the full-back, and now look at the position of Neto. Now, when Palmer is picking up this position, it is forcing the full-back in, allowing Neto time and space on the ball. And in this situation, Noni Madueke should have actually done better and scored Chelsea's second goal of the game. And this kept happening throughout the first half. Another way that they were doing this, again, look here, Newcastle are deciding to press Chelsea aggressively high because they understand that they can, if they put pressure on Chelsea, they will be able to win the ball in those areas and actually destroy Chelsea. But Chelsea are not afraid of this. Chelsea want this. That's what makes Chelsea look like a very dangerous counter-attacking team. But the issue is that Chelsea are actually sucking opponents to press them aggressively high. And in this case, the opponents are going man-to-man against Chelsea, looking to cover their pivots, cover their fullbacks, and press their goalkeeper. Now, what that does is that it creates overloads high up the pitch. And this is where the sensible and the smart Cole Palmer is able to drop deep from this position. And look at the position of Palmer. He's dropping deep. At the same time, he's pulling a centre-back out of position. And what this happens is that now Neto does not drop deep. Neto and Madueke are holding the width, ensuring that they stretch the game and ensuring that they drag Chelsea and Newcastle's defense line wide. Now, when Palmer drops deep, Newcastle have no option. The centre-back has no option than to foul Palmer, because if Palmer manages to turn and play that slice line-breaking pass to Pedro Neto, then Newcastle are done for in this kind of situation. And one instance we saw is that, looking at this clip, how Chelsea actually managed to create that opportunity for Palmer's goal. Palmer is occupying the centre-back and the full-back. And in this situation, this is creating problems because Jackson is the one who has received the ball. Now, because Palmer is occupying this situation, Jackson decides to drop deep to receive the ball directly from the centre-back. And we saw Colwill attempting to make those passes. Now, the problem is the full-back and the centre-back is unaware whether he should drop deep to try and pick Nicholas Jackson. Now, Jackson drops deep, and Palmer is smart enough to identify that there is space in behind where Jackson has actually dropped deep. And because Newcastle has decided now to drop their plan and not to press Chelsea aggressively high, Chelsea are able to play through this mid-block quite easily. Jackson turns back, and if Palmer had just timed his run a second earlier, Chelsea would have scored in the first minutes of the game. Because you can see Jackson is receiving the ball here. Look at the position of Palmer. Look at the position of Guimares. Now Guimares is looking at Jackson. He's not looking at Palmer. Palmer is making that blindside run away from Guimares. And once Jackson is able to slice Palmer, that pass, Palmer is running through on goal. And that's how Cole Palmer scored the disallowed goal. Another thing that we saw is that during the mid-block, we will hear Maresca shouting and telling Malo Gusto to pick up the position between the fullback and the centre-back. Now, when Gusto picked up this position and Sanchez stepped up to try and give them that numerical advantage, Newcastle were playing against 11 men because their backline was now being overloaded with Palmer and Gusto in the half spaces, Noni and Neto giving the width. And allowing players such as Sliver and Caicedo the ball, they will be able to destroy you. So the Newcastle midfield wanted to stop Chelsea from building there. But Chelsea understood the overloads that they had in both wide areas. And here you can see the position of Palmer. So Palmer again decides to drop deep from that position. And this time he's receiving the ball directly from Levi Colwill. Now, once he's receiving this ball here, the centre-back is now forced again to drop deep. But look at what Pedro Neto is doing. Pedro Neto has already identified that Palmer is dropping deep and he's already making that run. Because if Palmer can drop deep, play the ball back to Rhys James is able to play that first-time ball over the top for the runs of Pedro Neto. But again, the centre-back has to bring him down. And this is how Chelsea just kept on tearing through Newcastle's press and making it look like child's play. And here you see Palmer is able to actually break free. He plays a slick pass Once he plays that sneak pass, Jackson comes short, and Jackson shouldn't have come short because he would have been occupying the center backs. And now Palma has options. He has Gusto, he has Madueke, and he has Pedro Neto. And Palma in this situation is in a position of strength because Chelsea are actually outnumbering Newcastle when Newcastle are looking to run back and try to prevent Chelsea from outnumbering them. Now, this was even problematic because again we saw when Newcastle had committed a lot of players to press Chelsea, we see again how Maresca has made Chelsea so lethal in the counter-attack. Now here Newcastle were the ones who were attacking. Palma is picking up a position where he's able to receive the ball. Now once Palma receives the ball, he can be able to spot Neto making a run, he can see the position of Jackson, and he can see the position of Noni Madueke, who are already making runs. And he's able to play that line-breaking pass.
Now, because Chelsea are such a dangerous team when it comes to playing through their opponents, one thing that we should also understand is how Chelsea have managed to be very good when it comes to controlling games by keeping the ball and progressing with the ball from their defensive third to the final third in a systematic approach. Now, I'm going to talk about Chelsea's system when they had their consistent starting 11. I'm not just going to dwell on what happened recently. And here is how Chelsea have managed to improve how they progress with the ball higher up the pitch. The lineup, with this lineup being his first 11. Sanchez in goal, centre-back partnership of Colwill and Fofana, Gusto and Cucurella at the full-back positions, Fernandes and Caicedo in midfield, Palma at the number 10, Madueke and Sancho in the wide areas, and Nicolas Jackson leading the line. This has been Enzo Maresca's preferred starting 11 at Chelsea. Before we start our analysis, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. So Maresca wants his teams to build from the back by using the goalkeeper as an outfielder while building up. But this is something that he has changed recently because he noticed that Sanchez is not quite the best in these positions. Now, what we notice is that the centre-backs split on either side of Sanchez, allowing Sanchez the space to actually look to try and pick out midfielders in this case. The midfield pivots are also quite dynamic, knowing when to stretch and when to move, so that they can even open up spaces high up for players like Palma to receive the ball. Now, Maresca also used Dizabi's kind of build-up structure earlier on when he faced Manchester City by having Lavia and Caicedo playing as the pivots, with the fullback starting out wide and Sanchez making an extra man during build-up. Now, Manchester City's press was quite intense, but throughout the game, Chelsea always found a solution to play through Manchester City. And this showcased how Chelsea were actually going to play up once Maresca's philosophy was embedded in the team. Now, Maresca has preferred to deploy Fernandes higher up and not require him during the build-up phase. And sometimes when teams decide to go man-to-man with his back three, what you'll realize with him is that he will invert his fullback. He prefers to invert Malo Gusto and have Cucurella and Fofana act as fullbacks and utilize Robert Sanchez as an extra centre-back. It's something that we've seen Chelsea do. Looking at this clip, you can clearly see Sanchez is playing as an outside, as a right-sided centre-back. Cucurella is playing as a left-back, and you can see the position of Malo Gusto, who has come in field, and the position of Moises Caicedo. Now, using Sanchez in this build-up strategy actually adds Chelsea an extra player during build-up, and this has made Chelsea even more dominant when they're looking to build from the back. Now, because of trying to utilize the goalkeeper in this case, some teams become extremely intelligent with how they press, and the owners now relies upon Robert Sanchez. Throughout the season, we've seen Robert Sanchez deciding to go long, either looking to pick a player in between the lines such as Fernandes, who likes to hug that position, or if the team is playing with an aggressive high line, then he can actually look to go direct. Now, when Sanchez decides to actually go long, that is when all his nearby passing options have been marked out and he chooses to actually go long. He knows that he has extra players because Chelsea have also committed a lot of players in the attacking structure, outnumbering the opposition's backline 5v4. Brighton, who had anticipated to press Chelsea aggressively high, found themselves in a very dangerous situations because now Chelsea's pacey forwards actually had enough space to run, and this is where Nicholas Jackson thrives the most. Because opponents are caught in between the balance of whether to press Chelsea aggressively high, and alternatively, this actually even puts even more danger because now Cole Palmer can drop deep, receive the ball, and look to play Nicholas Jackson. You can see here Brighton were looking to press Chelsea aggressively high, but the position of the players, that is Sancho, Noni Madueke, and Nicholas Jackson, actually put Brighton in a very dangerous situation because they will automatically outnumber a slow backline of defenders. Now, teams such as Manchester City tried to force Chelsea down one side to press, but again, this is why Maresca prefers Colwill, because Colwill knows how to actually go long and play balls into the channels. And Chelsea are not system rigid like Manchester City, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, of just playing out from the back. No, sometimes they can exploit spaces in behind by actually just going direct, something that we didn't expect from Enzo Maresca when he was signing for Chelsea, and it's actually an innovation that he has actually made. Now, one thing we've realized is that when teams decide to press Chelsea with two blocks, one aggressive block and one more defensive block, then Maresca's goalkeeper and centre backs are able to identify players such as Fernandes, and that's why Fernandes has been very instrumental for Chelsea in receiving the balls in spaces in between the lines. And against Manchester City, he will drop deep, pull out a centre back from position, then immediately look to receive the ball and play those balls over the top. Noni Madueke has been a usual outball for Maresca because he's been the one who will hug the touchline and make those runs in behind. However, sometimes his overall assisting or passing the ball to his opponents has been quite low, and this has denied Chelsea opportunities to score goals. If Madueke improves on that, then Chelsea can actually have a deadly threat when it comes to actually playing those balls over the top. Sanchez has not been without his flaws, and we saw it in the game against Brighton, where he actually lost a ball in a very difficult situation. Like you see here, Chelsea are already 3-1 up, and Sanchez receiving this ball here, all his options have been closed down. So the natural option is just to go long. But Sanchez tries to play a pass to Moses Caicedo. Moses Caicedo does not get to the ball and the pass is poor, and Chelsea actually concede a second goal. And this is actually putting Maresca in a situation where he now wants Sanchez to be less on the ball, and we are seeing Chelsea taking a more direct approach during build-up. Now, in the game against Manchester City, we saw Chelsea overload the midfield with as many as 5 players. And this midfield overload is what allowed Chelsea to actually play through Manchester City. And because Fernandes was dropping deep, Lavia was there, and Caicedo, Chelsea were able to clearly outnumber the opponents in these kind of situations. Now, that is when Chelsea are facing an aggressive high block. What about when Chelsea are actually facing a mid block? Because Chelsea have faced teams that have sat in a mid block, teams such as Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest have actually sat in a mid block when they faced Chelsea. Now, in this scenario, what we saw with Chelsea during build-up is that once teams decide to sit in a mid block, Sanchez is not afraid to step out to actually give them numerical advantage. Looking at Manchester City here, who decided to press Chelsea in a mid block, you can see the position of Robert Sanchez. He's actually stepped out and he's actually creating an option for Levi Colwill. And when Haaland goes to press Colwill, Sanchez is already occupying that position. Fofana has spread out wide to play as a right back, and now Haaland is now forced to actually look to try and play the ball to press 2 players, because now the winger cannot come out to press Robert Sanchez. Now Haaland is pressing 2 players, and once he's pressing these 2 players are able to play through him. And this is one reason why Chelsea's build-up has actually improved, because the goalkeeper is being involved much more during the build-up phase. Now, Chelsea's kind of mini diamond situation during build-up by using only Caicedo during build-up is actually quite instrumental. When teams decide to sit in a mid-block, then Sanchez, once he receives the ball with a lot of time and space, he can actually launch the ball towards that position. And we saw this in Chelsea's second goal against Wolves. Alternatively, these players in between the lines such as Fernandes can drop deep and receive the ball directly from the goalkeeper and look to play the balls forward. And this is because Chelsea naturally have a numerical advantage in midfield because they have 3 midfielders when facing a 4-4-2 kind of defensive structure. Now, this is how Chelsea actually plays through teams when they decide to press them in a mid-high block structure. Now, when teams have settled in their own defensive half, the way Maresca uses his half-space players is different. He doesn't want them to play closer to Jackson, but rather he wants them to play closer to the wingers. This is different from the way Manchester City utilize them, because now when they play towards the wingers, they are able to create those 2v1s. That's why you see players such as Fernandes playing close to Sancho, while Palma playing close to Noni Madueke. And Chelsea's 3-2 structure during build-up actually gives them numerical advantage against the front two. You can see here the position of Levi Colwill, the position of Marc Cucurella, and the position of Fofana. They are creating numerical overloads against Nottingham Forest. Here again, you can see West Ham, because West Ham decided to sit in a 4-1-4-1 structure. Chelsea just had to build with 2 centre-backs, with 1 centre-back starting out wide. Now, this is very advantageous to Chelsea in that kind of regard. Now, this 3-2 structure is very instrumental because now Chelsea are able to play the ball towards the double pivots, and once they play the ball towards the double pivots are able to attract midfielders onto them and allow players such as Fernandes and Cole Palmer to receive the ball in between the lines and look to actually link up with their wingers. Threat this season has really been coming from the wide areas, and especially down the left where Chelsea look to try and build up from. Now, the position of Chelsea's build-up structure by having their goalkeeper even start as a centre-back kind of situation allows Chelsea to have 11 outfield players, which is a +1 when facing 10 outfield players. And Chelsea this season have emphasized the use of the left-hand side to try and drag the opponent towards the left and use quick or slow switches of play to actually shift the ball towards the right. And that's why players like Palmer are receiving the ball in space, and Noni Madueke is actually the most dangerous player for Chelsea during attack, because he's the player who hugs the touchline and is actually receiving the ball majority of the time in space. And this has actually shown the increase in the number of shots and the number of chance creations that are actually coming from the right side. Remember, last season Mauricio Pochettino heavily relied upon the right. Now, teams have decided to employ the 4-4 structure to try and limit Chelsea's overall build-up. And this is by having 4 players playing quite narrow to limit Chelsea's central progression, 2 pivots to try and pick up Fernandes and Cole Palmer in this midfield region. But that has not worked because Chelsea have known ways on playing through this 4-4 structure. And this is a tactical evolution that Guardiola has deployed this season. Now, one way Chelsea look to try and beat this is that because the wide players are playing in this structure, Levi Colwill has been preferred in that central centre-back because he's a player who knows how to hold on to the ball, draw in pressure, and then look to play a quick pass to a holding player who can look to play the ball onto the wide centre-back, who can try to spring the ball quick enough to the wide winger who's holding and hugging the touchline. And because players like Palmer and Fernandes are actually playing close to the winger, they automatically generate 2v1s against opposition's fullbacks. Also, Chelsea have wingers who are very good at dribbling, and that's why Jadon Sancho has been very important for Chelsea, because he knows how to dribble, enter the box, and look to either pass the ball or try to attempt a shot on goal. Though I'm very disappointed with Sancho's confidence in front of goal. Sometimes I just believe that he should be selfish enough to just receive the ball and attempt shots on goal. Now, one tactical adaptation that Enzo Maresca has employed in this kind of structure during build-up because of his pivots is that he has reverted into what we call a kite midfield. Now, in this kite midfield, he outnumbers the opposition double pivot by having 3 players, and he spreads that wide play by having Enzo and Palmer receiving the balls in wide areas, similar to how we saw De Bruyne and Rico Lewis receiving the ball at Chelsea against Chelsea. Now, because of having to spread the diamond, sometimes even Chelsea move into a back four by having Cucurella playing as a fullback and also Malo Gusto playing as a fullback, with only Moises Caicedo playing as a single pivot. And this this does is that it actually takes away players from midfield and increases the number of wide overloads that Chelsea are able to have. And now Chelsea will not play using the midfield region, but look to just play around the opposition team. Statistics actually support this. Looking at this season statistics, you can see Chelsea is playing quite even, with heavy reliance towards the left-hand side. Last season, the left-hand side just had around 22% penetration, but that has increased with close to 16% by making it to actually be 38%. And this is actually a huge improvement to the overall play of Chelsea. Looking even at the attacking areas of the pitch, you can see Chelsea are spending majority of the time in their midfield third. Now, Chelsea are staying majority of the time in the midfield third because they are looking to try to hold on to the ball more, open up space, and once they are in the opposition third, it means that they are not lazy in that position, but rather are looking to actually destroy the opponent quite fast and not dwelling on the ball into that position. So Enzo Maresca's overall possession structure in Chelsea and his hybrid movement with going direct by employing, I know that could be quite long, but it is very, very crucial for us to understand the progression that Enzo Maresca is taking Chelsea. Now, when you look at these fixtures, you can clearly see that Chelsea have a run where they can actually go and win around 10 games on the bounce. That is before they play Manchester City away, who I think will be quite strong when Chelsea will be playing them. But Chelsea have the opportunity to build up the momentum, to rack up the points, to secure top 4 in this run. Where do you think Chelsea is going to finish this season? And do you think Enzo Maresca has done enough to actually take Chelsea to the next level? I will be waiting for your comments in the comment section area below. Thanks for watching.